In this video, Alan shows you how to use structural component tools in StructureSolver for stratigraphic analysis in your integrated workflow with Petrel. You'll notice that some menus and the interface look a little bit different now, but the same principles apply.
As well as using structural component tools to restore complex structures, the tools can also be used to gain insight into stratigraphic units. The following shows an example of using structural components to isolate a layer in the section to elucidate its stratigraphy. We then send the stratigraphic elements back to Petrel as a multi-Z interpretation. Let's quickly do a restoration of this purple horizon here. So I'll do again a restore below, and you'll see with that restoration that as I explained before, most of the growth is taking place below this horizon here, and there's not so much growth in this interval here. So it might be nice to isolate that as a stratigraphic interval and look at it directly. So this is an example of using StructureSolver with a certain amount of structural tools, but also using it as a stratigraphic analysis tool. So in this particular case, what I'll do is I'll create a marker that goes around this interval here, and then use that marker in order to create a structural component that just contains this stratigraphic interval. So I'll go under Interpret, Create Marker from Curve Segments, and I'll start here, and I'll go, in this case, counterclockwise around the structure. I'll go down that fault, across, down that fault, across, up to here, back up that fault, and then start end, finishing where I started. So now I have a marker which goes around the stratigraphic interval of interest. So I can go to my structural component menu and say create and drag structural component, and immediately create a structural component that contains just that interval. So let's just move that a little bit more. And at this point, with this structural component isolated with all of its interpretation elements, I can come under and restore that individually. So I'll restore with that bed again. I'll use vertical shear. I'll restore below. And now I've got an individually restored stratigraphic unit where I can see the stratigraphic details and how they cross the fault. So I might wish to interpret some of those channels that we see there. I'll interpret them using a marker, and I'll put some fill opacity into it. So I'll interpret around this channel here. Because I'm drawing on a structural component, it says attach to structural component, I'll say yes. I might draw something similar over here as well. And then I might want to send that back with transfer curve, send a component curve segment back to the section. So I'll send that back and that back to the section. That will propagate those markers back into the section above here. So it's disconnected that slightly, so I'll just sort of join curve segment there and there. And at this point, I can update back to Petrel with these markers. So I can say export update Petrel from StructureSolver. I will update the marker, and because it's intrinsically multi-Z, that will be immediately created back in Petrel as a multi-Z surface. So there are the multi-Z interpretations back in Petrel, corresponding to what was originally interpreted on a component, moved to the base section interpretation, and then updated to Petrel. So that shows you, how you can move backwards and forwards, do analysis in StructureSolver, and also send the interpretation back to Petrel.
For more info on how you can utilize the StructureSolver plugin for Petrel, please see our Learning Center, which is full of lots of great content to help you along your way.